Hello everybody, and I'm back with a new compilation video with all my Silksong Act 2 bosses ranked. However, if you've watched the first video, you know that I rank extra bosses from Act 2 that I didn't think deserved to have a whole short on. So, without wasting any time, let's get into it. The Cobwork Dancers. Now, this is the first boss in Act 2 that I'm going to be ranking, and it's honestly one of my favorites. Now, on my first run through, I kind of thought this was a bit anticlimactic, because you have to go up all the way through the Citadel, and I was expecting more of a challenge. But that does not mean it's not a masterpiece. They only have 2 attacks, and both are telegraphed pretty nicely. They mostly keep in sync, and every phase they get faster, except on the 3rd phase, they get faster and then come out of sync, making it an extra challenge. But what I want to know is why Team Cherry made the final 4th phase so sad. Because at the beginning of the 4th phase, one of them dies, and the other dancer is left to dance all alone. It's very sad. But overall, definitely an S tier. But maybe an S minus, because it's a little bit easy. Second Sentinel. Now this is probably one of the weirder bosses on this list, because to fight her, you have to assemble the Cogwork Heart, accept the final audience wish, and find her location. And I'm not even really sure why she wants to fight you. But nevertheless, she was alright. Her moves are fine, and she has just enough challenge. Her design is also pretty cool, so I'm gonna give her a B. Robio. Now this is one of the bosses you need to defeat to complete the 3-part melody, and it might be the best. It's found in the Whispering Vaults by the stage, which fits the overall theme of his boss fight perfectly. And one thing about his attacks is that if you don't have epilepsy, you will after his fight. Oh, I'm kidding, don't take this seriously. He loves to go under the map, which is really annoying because you can't hit him. Then he throws little balls at you that explode into more balls. There's a lot of explosions. His death is even really dramatic. And after his death, the route to escape is pretty fun. You have to go through the underworks and climb your way back up. Spoiler warning! If you return to his area in Act 3, you'll see he is now turned into Tormented Trevio, which is like Trevio, but now he's purple, and his bombs produce even more light. So yeah, overall A tier, but definitely an A+. Chef Leguli. Now this guy's an absolute unit. He's found in Sinner's Road, and is tucked away in a small corner. But bro has one of the wildest movesets I've ever seen in a boss. And like most bosses, his styling is top notch. After you defeat his 2 little minions, he will then come after you himself. And he will either throw infested water at you, in which you have to use a full heal to get rid of. Or he will either lunge at you with his bar, or try to crush you with his fattiness. In phase 2 even though it's under the map to try and squish you. So yeah, I think my statement's pretty justified. But apart from that, that's basically it. He doesn't really have any good rewards. But before I give my final score, there is a small clip that I want to show you guys. So yeah, pretty funny. And because of that, I'll give it a C+. Phantom. Now I'm gonna be real, I've actually fought her yet, which means I can't really say how challenging she is. But from what I've seen and heard, she looks pretty cool and really fun. Not to mention, you get a pretty good silk ability as a reward, and her death animation is awesome. And if you don't want to beat the last judge to get to Act 2, you can defeat her and get to Act 2 that way. So I'm gonna give her an A-, but if I do get a chance to fight her, that might change. Rude Mother. Now I'm not going to try to disrespect the 2 people that actually like this boss, but this boss is ugly beyond comparison. Not only that, but for some reason I found this boss surprisingly difficult. But the worst part is probably that it's technically required to beat her, as otherwise you won't have completed the Wailing Mother quest, which could mean that you won't be able to unlock Act 3. Anyway, moving on to our moveset, it's really annoying, because she can spit goo at you, which means you get stuck to the floor. Then she'll lunge at you and crush you, and she even throws small explosive flies at you. So yeah, pretty annoying. And because of that, I'm gonna give it a D tier. Vault Worm. Now I hate this boss, Not because it's hard. In fact, I think it's the easiest boss out there. It has literally one move. I think it also sucks that to get to him you have to get past this really annoying parkour. The only reason he's not a straight F tier is because he gives you somewhat a kind of good reward. It's this little electricity filament that turn your silk abilities electrified. But still, D-. Raging Conchfly. Now this boss, I think actually has some challenge. It builds upon what the great Conchflies did, but still keeps the fight new and exciting. I love how the little Conchflies telegraph their attacks. I'm also pretty sure that you have to beat this boss for a future boss, so that's nice. However, the run back is kind of annoying. There's easily worse, Pinning Firewater, but it's manageable, so I'll give it a B+. Father of the Flame. Now I'm gonna be real, this is a pretty forgettable boss. And I don't mean it in a bad way, it's just, it doesn't really do anything. It feels more like a punching bag. Like, the design's really cool, but I don't think you actually get any rewards, like, at all. It's also not even that difficult, it's pretty easy. I think I got it on like my first try. But I will admit, the cheese for this boss is so good. You basically have to poke off his arms and dodge the flames that come your way. So even though there's not too much to say about this boss, I'll give him a B+. Growly freaking great. Oh boy, where do I begin with this one? Now if you somehow don't know who this boss is, you're definitely living under a rock. But this might possibly be the worst boss in all of Silksong. So I'm not even going to make you guys wait till the end to give you my ranking. I'm straight up giving him an F. Straight F. But what I do want to talk about is that I think he's just a tad bit overhated. Not a lot, but just a bit. And I think that's because of three things. His run back, his arena, and the few enemies you have to defeat before fighting him every single time. Now, the run back that most players take, yeah, it's pretty bad. But there is a secret bench really close to the arena, which actually makes it pretty reasonable. Next, the enemies, well, they are annoying. I think if you just defeated them the first time and you didn't fight them again, I think that'd be really fair. And the arena, well, there's not much you can do about it. I guess it is annoying, but it's just the boss, so deal with it. So yeah, he may not be the hardest boss, but he is definitely the worst boss of all time. The Cygnus and Grom. Now I actually quite like this boss and think it's really cool. And that's because it does something really unique. After a certain amount of time, the first guy will call another guy, and they will now fight like a duo, or brothers. And when this happens, their attacks kind of synchronize, which makes it even better. Not to mention, it adds most of the challenge, because the first guy is pretty easy. Speaking of challenge, this is more on the easy side of the scale. You can't just turn on autopilot and expect it to be done, but I did it in like a few tries. However, the challenge also depends if you're in Act 2 or Act 3, as Act 3 makes the enemies significantly harder. But after defeating this boss, I don't think you actually get too many rewards. I looked it up, and you apparently get a new bench, some shell shards, and access to the bell, which is really important for the later in the game. But like, that doesn't make the boss fight memorable. Overall, I'm gonna go with a B tier. Lace 2. Now this is probably one of my favorite bosses in all of Silksong, because the fight is pretty fair, or at least it feels like it. It has the right amount of challenge, and feels so good when you defeat her. Now there is one small complaint, and that's her parrying, because it can really slow the fight down, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. Also, not to mention, the arena looks so good. The white flowers complement Lace's body and her croissant-shaped head really well. But before I give you my ranking, there is one other little problem that I want to tell you guys about. In the arena, there are two bottomless pits on either side of the flowers, and past those bottomless pits, there are walls. Whenever I got low down on my health, I would go to the walls and heal there. But then, Lace would come after me, climb up those walls, and still try to kill me. I don't have any footage of this, but it was really annoying. However, this could be intentional. But anywho, I'm going to give her an A+. Grandmother Silk. Now if you don't know, this is the final boss of Act 2, and I would say it lives up to what it's expected to be. Her moves are kind of like the Radiance from Hollow Knight, but they all have that Silk-themed vibe to it. Not to mention they're telegraphed perfectly. And also, she's got quite a lot of phases. Now some of them are kind of repeated and just make her faster, but still. I also really like the animation when she hits you when she's doing her crisscross threads attack. But even though she looks really intimidating, she's actually pretty easy. It only took me a few tries. But I would say she's pretty fun, so I'm gonna give her an A-. If she was more challenging, it would probably be an S. Well, that was every boss in Act 2 that I'm gonna rank. So I'll see you guys when I make a video on all of my Act 3 bosses ranked. And before I go, here is the tier list of all Act 2 bosses. So goodbye.